Hmm. Yeah. Okay. My life. Awesome. Right. All right. This is Mystical Monday with me, Katerina Satori. Hello, dear friends, beloved community. I got my microphone so you can see. So I wanted to do something different in this transmission. This is going to be an opening conversation for the power of transformation with the sacred feminine. And I'm just going to check the sound. Yep, it's perfect. Okay. So if you're going to see this as a live conversation, warm welcome. If you're going to see this as a replay, it's all perfect. I wanted to open up a topic on divine feminine in the times of great transformation. I'm hosting a free online event this Wednesday, 1 p.m. Pacific, called Feminine Rebirth. You see a beautiful flower behind me. To me, this is a symbol of the feminine. The feminine is the energy within us that is meant to bloom. And the question that I got, how do you bloom when the world is on fire, when the world is in pain and in suffering? And I am here to offer you my perspective and to invite you in a contemplation together with me, because the feminine is all about the death and rebirth. The feminine knows how to rebirth itself. And the reason why I wanted to use the flower behind me as a symbol of that, if you ever seen roses or if you ever cultivated roses, you need to cut roses. You need to completely cut their stems in order for them to bring new blooms. If you never cut your roses, if you don't know how to cultivate them, you'll never experience the true potential of that flower. And the first time I've experienced that is when I got my first two rose bushes when I used to live in San Clemente. And as a beginner gardener one-on-one, I said, let me get my hands in the dirt. Let me actually cultivate flowers and see how it feels. And I loved how my rose bush was like covered with blooms and with incredible fragrant smelling roses. And every morning I would wake up and walk onto my patio and see these beautiful roses. And it's so, so beautiful. But then what I learned is the winter came and the blooms fell away, and I actually had to trim every single bush, trim it completely. And there were a time in the winter where my rose bushes didn't have any flowers, and they looked so fragile. They looked so barren, so empty, so naked with those branches. And it was just awe-inspiring to see them come back from that state of ultimate nakedness, just bare branches. And then there was the force inside of them, the force of nature, the force of creation that woo, ignited the new growth and new flowers. And that became a metaphor for the feminine for me. I want to see who is here with me on this live stream. And that became, the metaphor for me was the feminine is how when we begin to connect with the feminine energy within us, we begin to invite it forth. We begin to make connection to, we begin to cultivate our relationship with our inner feminine, because the relationship needs to be cultivated. What happens, we begin to notice these cycles of transformation in our lives. And I call them the cycles of death and rebirth. And if we're able to see them, how that process happens in our own life, we'll be able to extend that perspective to community, to our country, to the world at large. So when I say death and rebirth, death is the crucial part of a transformational process. Without going through the death of the old, we will never receive the new. And oftentimes we fight the process of death. We feel the wind of change is coming to us, right? And I'll give you a specific example of that. We'll feel the wind of change coming to us. We feel there is the invitation for us to become a new version of ourselves. But for that to happen, we get to let go of the old. And a lot of times we human beings have a hard time letting go of the old. The old is familiar. The old is what we know. So the intelligence of the universe, by its love and benevolence, come to us and give us a process of metaphorical death. And death comes in many different ways. It could be an external experience of something in your life falling apart, like a relationship, a marriage, business. It could be in the form of illness. A force of life in the form of illness come to you and makes you stop, and you can't produce in the same way. You can't think that you are invincible in the same way. When the illness comes and you need to stop and actually take care of that, that's a form of a transformation by death. Another form of that is depression, when suddenly life loses all color, all meaning. I love my crows over here. I am speaking and I have these three crows, and they're just like, they're here with me. I'm talking about the power of death to transform our life, right? And I'm talking about ego death. The feminine is an energy that moves through us, that takes us into the process of embodiment. There is no embodiment without ego death, right? And ego, let's talk about ego. There is many different descriptions of that, but for this conversation, I would say let's think about ego, the part of us that's dying, is a false mask that we present to the world. So, in the path of the feminine embodiment, if you are here, if you want to live and bloom in a feminine way, if this is, you arrived there, like, I want that. I want to trust my feminine. I want to trust my creativity. I want to develop my intuitive mind. Then you are saying yes to accelerated process of growth through death and rebirth cycles. And ego death is the death of the mask, the death of control, right? The death of our insistence that things need to be different in the world. And our surrender, it's ongoing surrender of our personal will into the will of the divine. So death is a powerful transformative process that comes to us as a great cleansing, as a purification process, a part of the alchemy. And when we go through the process of death, we are being given the gift of rebirth. And the rebirth, the flavor of the spiritual rebirth, is a greater level of freedom, inner freedom, and a greater level of spontaneity, where you feel childlike again. You know, if you think about it, every time you go through a process of death and rebirth, death is a very thick, dense process. It's not easy to die, right? Metaphorical spiritual ego death is a dense process. No matter how many times I've been there, it's not easy to go through it. But once you see the map, once you see there is a map, energetic archetypal map of transformational process, then you stop fighting it, you stop fearing it, you stop resisting it, you stop kicking and screaming. You become curious. Wow, my soul is so mature and ripe to be invited to yet another cycle of transformation. That is amazing, right? That is amazing. So, one second, darlings, I want to see if there is any questions in this spontaneous live stream, right? Spontaneous live stream. Are we still live streaming? Yeah. How? Oh, hey, Crystal, how do you know if you had an ego death? You tap into your most liberated voice. You stand in the naked truth of your soul. You don't give a crap anymore about holding a particular self image. Every death, Crystal, is a cleansing process, right? It's a real cleansing process. And in the feminine path, I'm really talking about the feminine path because the feminine path is the path of embodiment. We're not transcending shit. We're not going away to the clouds. We are opening our eyes to the beautiful intensity of life. And we're we're learning to live in that radical availability to life, to the full contrast of it. So the feminine is a process of descending into the body and meeting your life with available and open heart. Feminine path is the path of the heart. So the ego death, you don't need to seek it. It comes to you, right? As the illusion of control. And with every transformational process that we go to, we learn to see that we don't have control over life. We are in charge of our presence. We are in charge of how fully available we are to the process. And we're in charge of our attitude. These three things we're in charge of. Everything else is not in our control. And it's a humbling realization when you realize that, right? You're like, whoa, it's very humbling. What do I do with that? Well, I find when I'm in that realization that I don't have control, no matter how much I despise the fact that there is war on this planet, I don't have a control over stopping the war. And that's a fact, that's a reality. But I do have inner power to stop the war on the inside of me and step into a holographic experience of reality and to start transforming the war consciousness on the inside. And that I can do. And every ego death, every death and rebirth process, you know, the gift of that I'm finding, it cleanses my ego from illusion of control and the resistance to reality and makes me spacious inside to actually hear the will of the divine of how I can play my sacred role in the time of great transformation. So Crystal Smith, ask amazing question. How do you allow yourself to bloom in the feminine way when the whole world seems to be on fire or is on fire? And I feel the potency of that question because the feminine, think about the feminine as an energy that animates matter. That's what the sacred feminine is. Without sacred feminine, this world would be just a bunch of dead matter. But it's because of sacred feminine we have flowers blooming, we have sun rising, we have the wind, we have the rain, we have the grass, we have the harvest. Sacred feminine is the energy that animates everything. So when we allow ourselves this energy to awaken us to a more and more aliveness, more and more presence to the world, more and more willingness to participate in this great dance that is unfolding, then we are guided by that powerful energy that animates entire universe. We're guided by her or it or all that exists, whatever language resonates with you. I'm not attached to it. But every cycle of death and rebirth opens your eyes to what is real and helps you discard what is not real. And that's why I am learning to, have a like this attitude of deep reverence to the transformational power of death. Deep reverence. And it's so powerful because it cleanses you from expectations that things in the world should be different than the way we are. The most humble realization on this path is when you realize there is nothing wrong with the world and there is a great room for evolution. It's a paradox. The feminine path holds a paradox. Just how you are not just human, you are spirit, you're immortal spirit with the mortal body. It's a paradox. If you can hold the paradox that you are a spirit, a soul that will never die, having a physical experience that has death as a part of your physicality. You see, it's a paradox. The mind collapses in that, but the heart knows the truth and the heart feels the truth. So, what gives me strength to keep waking up every morning and cultivate my vibration, raise my vibration, focus on what matters, remember what's real, do my part in making this world filled with more beauty, with more truth, with more wisdom, is this ability to stay in the paradox that this world, there is a divine perfection in the world. Everything that is playing out, the reason it's playing out is because it needs to play out for the process of a transformation to take form. And this is a process of evolution. Everything is exactly how it needs to be with a lot of room to evolve. It's a very tantric perspective. You can hold both. Then what happens, your heart begins to open and your lightness, the lightness of spirit comes back. You're not burdened by this impossible weight on your shoulders that when you think you need to fix the world, you will fail. If you're trying to fix the world, you will fail. It's too grand of a task. But if you shift to a perspective, I am here to be a part of the great evolution. I am here to join this great evolution that is happening. And I am personally called to support the rise of the feminine. And that means I am not to control life. I am here to bow to the wisdom of life. I am not here to fight change. I'm here to get on the train of change that is happening and ask, how can I be a part of this change? Right? So it's a very feminine path is inclusive path. It says we are all unique in the thread that we feel called to hold. There is a huge tapestry that is being weaved right now by the great intelligence of the cosmos, by one cosmic heart. And each of us is being called to hold a thread. Imagine if we all held one thread. We all like color blue. We all holding color blue. Or we all like color green and we all just hold color green. But that would be a very boring tapestry. But because you like the aquamarine and I like black and I like, beige and beautiful coral, and we each hold the beautiful thread that we're weaving this great tapestry that's called the journey of the soul of the world. It's a really glorious perspective. So by you choosing to bloom, you inspire others to do the same. You inspire others to do, and then that metaphor of a rose that I shared in the very beginning. This what gives me courage. People often look at how I create and how I bring creations into the world. And probably some people make assumptions that I never experience lack of inspiration. And I want you to know I experience the gaps between inspirations, like that rose without the bloom. And it's not very comfortable to be in that gap. But every time I look at the rose bush without the blooms, it gives me this beautiful memory. The rose cannot stop blooming. Even without the bloom, it has the divine blueprint. Its true essence is to bring a rose. So your sacred feminine encoded with this infinite intelligence to bloom creatively. If you tend to it, if you water it, if you allow it, if you love it, if you give it permission, right? If you give it permission, if you take care of it. So this is a conversation that I wanted to open because this, yeah, crow. I love the crows. They're amazing. They're magical birds. This Wednesday, I am hosting a transmission called the Feminine Rebirth, where I will go deeper into the process of transformation that is in a deeply feminine way called the death rebirth cycle. And I will be speaking about archetypes that await us on every significant threshold. We go through different seasons, right? Different age, different experiences. And I will be sharing about this three archetypes. They're this powerful archetypal energies that we can tap in to embody more of our strength, more of our wisdom, playfulness, curiosity, this open mind of possibilities. So if you'd like to come, it's free to attend. I'm gonna drop the link underneath this video, and I hope to see you there. May you have a beautiful week. May you remember to bloom in your own unique way. And I hope to see you on Wednesday. I'm gonna pause here. Stop.